has actually heard me sing. She's not lying about that.
Hey, everybody! We're
Hello.
live. We're going to be talking.
It still says off air on my end, so.
Really? It says live on my end, and I think my end's the one that counts.
There we go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, as soon as it goes live on his end, it starts. Well, now after that buggy start.
Yeah. So here we are. We're going to have a little discussion about the election on possibly the last full day of American democracy, depending on what happens tomorrow.
I'm scared.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad I live in a blue state, so no matter how I vote, it's not going to help Trump.
Thank God.
There's that. But yeah, so let me introduce everybody first, and then we'll just do our thing. So obviously, first and foremost is American Anarchist. This was your baby. This was your idea to get us all together and talk about this. So welcome, American Anarchist. We're also joined by Danny Korcz.
Hey,
hi, Danny.
Hey, guys.
And Natalie Alford. What's up, Natalie?
Hey, Steve. Hey, guys.
And his rival, Blissful Melancholy.
For some reason, Blissful Melancholy is here.
I promise not to kick your ass while I'm in this hangout, Steve.
I will hold you to that.
It's like White Sox Cubs fans argument right now. Oh my God.
I will hold you to that. But yeah, so is everybody anxious about tomorrow? Is everybody excited? What are we feeling?
I'm like, no.
I'm
just glad that there were some things in my state that are getting put to a vote finally, like legalizing marijuana for one. Question 4 is to legalize and tax marijuana, which is much better than the drug cartels having control of it.
Yeah,
the drug cartels are what you get when capitalism has a hold of a market. Just pure, unbridled libertarian capitalism.
And that's a valid question in California too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah, Illinois doesn't have that. I don't know. I feel not so much anxious. Let's say feel like I'm trying to pick apart and been reading a lot of history books trying to see what type of things can happen. Like, it's actually funny, tonight I'm doing a comedy show where I'm singing about Andrew Johnson. And it's funny, Andrew Johnson has a lot in common with Donald Trump. He's racist, he was sexist, he considered himself a Jacksonian. Business people were first, but he thought of himself as the common man. And Congress, for the first time, unified and overrode a lot of Andrew Johnson's vetoes. Andrew Johnson record number 29 vetoes, and Congress overturned him 15 times. Sorry. So what I think is, like, if Donald Trump is elected, there's going to be maybe the first time we're going to see a unified Congress, not letting him get anything done.
Finally, Republicans and Democrats getting together.
There might be a situation like that. There also might be the situation if Hillary's elected.
We would talk about an incompetent Congress anyway. Sorry.
Yeah. But then if Hillary's elected, I wonder if there's going to be, just another Clive and Bundy ranch situation.
A repeat of
somewhere.
the past 8 years.
Huh?
Yeah.
A repeat of the past 8 years.
Yeah, a repeat of the past, same script, different cast. But now with the activism out, that's, we can't just rely on, the politicians are going to do everything. There still needs to be activism, especially right now. But I would see Hillary Clinton as, like, in my video I talked about, like a Lyndon B. Johnson president.
That's a really good comparison, I think. Yeah, that's a really good comparison. Because I don't think anybody would say that Johnson was as activist and as actively progressive as Kennedy.
No,
probably would have been, but in his second term. But he did nonetheless oversee a lot of important forward progress.
Yeah, he signed the Civil Liberties Act or the Civil Rights Act, whatever it was called.
And there was also the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
The Voting Rights Act.
Yeah, and it was because of the work of a bunch of various groups and SCLC. I liked the movie Selma, where, like I said, I talked about this in my video, but it's really interesting. But right now we have the activists out. That hornet's nest has been kicked as well. So I think that domestic policy-wise, Hillary, or at least the people elected legislative and executive, will listen more to the activists a bit. But that would not happen with the Trump presidency. It just wouldn't. And people are still treated badly. Oh my God, I said badly. Oh my God. Or no, Badley's right. Bigley, that was one. But
Bigley's wrong.
Bigley's wrong. I know. I'm still having my coffee.
There's no judgment here.
Yeah, but like with Johnson, that's like also the foreign policy, really bad at foreign policy. That Vietnam War thing wasn't that good, and also, you know, it pretty much set the tone for when Nixon came in. It really did, because people were fed up with the civil rights activists and the Vietnam War activists. People forget how much they were not liked. People hated the Vietnam War activists. So when Nixon came in, he shut that shit down. And that is what worries me about a Republican Trump presidency. Not so much of Trump himself, but the people working behind him. You got Giuliani, you got Chris Christie, you got some people who are living vampires.
And Pence. I think Pence is even scarier than Trump.
Yeah.
Same here. Like, because he literally wants to get rid of gay marriage, Pence. And
I think he wants to get rid of gay people.
Yeah.
If he could. I mean,
he'd love to just do what Mussolini did and put them all on an island. Hell, he might even nuke that island, you know, because he got the codes for it. He's got the codes for him.
Yeah. Pence is awful. I mean, that's how awful Trump is, that he makes Pence look civilized by comparison. But Pence
no
is
one's
awful.
assassinated Trump yet because Pence is his vice president.
Pence's assassination insurance for Trump.
Oh my God. You know, one of my friends was trying to say a coup like would happen of like, they really want Mike Pence. And I'm like, they don't want to make Donald Trump a fucking martyr. Oh no. God, would that just be gross if like Donald Trump became this martyr of the right wing?
Yeah.
They would be flying flags.
Yeah.
Orange flags.
Well, the other thing is those alt-right guys who have really propelled Trump, they don't give a shit about Mike Pence. Mike Pence to them would be like an establishment Republican. I mean,
that's very true.
They want Trump because Trump is doing their act.
Steve, you gave them the wrong name. It's alt-right, not alt-right.
Alt-right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
the alt-right. They say, I'm not racist, but then prove some racist shit.
I'm not racist, I just hate Jews, was something that was said recently by...
Well, yeah, somebody on Twitter said it's alt-right is what they call themselves when Nazis want to be politically correct.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, on my channel as an anarchist, I tend to run into a lot more alt-right people than some of the liberal channels, although I think Steve might actually have me beat just because of the sheer number of people who watch his channel and just hate him. But hey, I've got
those poor people.
Yeah, I've got a blacklist of comments anyway, so I can just kind of delete the comments.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing how much. What's really concerned me with the election, and I want to throw this out there. You know, I get mistaken for Jewish sometimes, and I can't believe the amount of anti-Semitism that has been on the rise since I started my YouTube channel. You know, I'm used to, and this is the thing, it's like weird, like me being used to being, you know, called a mongoloid or the N-word or that. But then the thing about like when I knew something was different about this election, something that I needed to take Trump supporters a bit more seriously, was when it's like, I hope that I can put you in an oven like your ancestors.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
When I saw that, like, yeah, and it's like usually I try to numb myself with comments, but that one really got to me. And I had seen a Young Turks report about how there are a lot of neo-Nazis and white genocide, white supremacist people who are starting to come out into the woodwork and activism. And I just wanted to ask about what do you think is going to happen if Hillary or Donald Trump, with those groups, with these new white supremacists that are coming out of the woodwork? Because that's a tough.
I can say that I can say that the Antifa will not have clean baseball bats for a while.
No. Well, yeah, there's that, but like, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get more pissed off if Hillary's elected or if they're going to get more empowered if Trump is elected.
Well, if Hillary is elected and they're pissed off, I have a feeling that there would be plenty of establishment people, police officers, or the National Guard, like after them if they decided to do something quite stupid. That's my guess, is how she would approach that and how the nation would approach that. Which, I mean, if the neo-Nazis rioting or the KKK or whatever, I would be more than happy to see them put away. So
Yeah.
What?
It wouldn't.
Would they be treated like the Bundy Ranch, though? Like, oh, they're not that serious.
That's
that's a good question. I don't know.
I feel like that would probably be the case. What were you going to say, Steve?
my concern would be for the short term. I think
Yeah.
if something like if Hillary wins the election and the alt-right white supremacist factions that have been empowered and activated by the Trump campaign get pissed off and start acting out and turning to violence, I think in the long run that would turn out to be a good thing, because it would just discredit them, and anybody who was maybe on the fence, who couldn't quite see them for what they were, would be able to say, oh, okay, I get it now. They're Nazis, they're white supremacists, they're awful people, they're not anyone I want to have anything to do with. But in the short term, while that process is going on, there's the danger that people are going to be hurt, that there's going to be a lot of damage done, that there's going to be a feeling of like chaos, for until that gets under control, so that's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about if Hillary wins the election. I'm not worried about them in the long term, at least not for a while, because things go in cycles, like I figure they'll burn themselves out and they'll go away for about another 20 or 30 years, and then something will happen and they'll come back again. But it's the short term that I'm worried about. Like when they take to the streets on November 9th, because they've been told that if their guy loses, it's because, the feminazis stole the election.
We do that.
What? I thought we do. I thought we were rigging this election.
That's right. All us Jews.
I know.
Yeah, all us Jews were all planning white genocide, too.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
The solution to neo-Nazis is white genocide.
I'm so weirded out that
election.
I'm an example of that white genocide thing, like that they actually, so they're against just, what?
They're against miscegenation.
Well, I know they're against miscegenation, but it's like, that's one of the things that's weirds me out of I knew that there was this element, but then seeing it more, it's like, oh no, there are people that literally have a problem with my existence. Yeah. Literally just who I am. And, it's just for the first time, I'm starting to get, not the first time, but I'm more noticing that I'm starting to experience what, my dad's side of the family very much experience more so, and a lot of my friends who are, black and darker or thicker accent, and it's been getting amplified. But I don't know. That's regardless of that. I don't know.
Well, that's what happens when you allow someone like Trump to access the mainstream without being critical of him. I mean, that's what happens. That's why these more overt white supremacists have been so emboldened, because a guy who is basically saying what they want to hear has been treated like a serious person for the last year and a half. I mean, the media didn't really start criticizing and going after Trump hardcore until that Access Hollywood tape came out.
That's true.
It was up until then, he was just another Republican running for office, and it was outrageous.
Well, that's something the Republicans have done for years. When you think about it, only it's been dog whistle until now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The Republicans have been dog whistle racists for years, and being in a Republican family, I can tell you that the rise of Trump did not surprise me. When I saw the first Republican debate, I looked at it and I'm like, Trump's gonna get all the way the nomination. No doubts were in my mind, because it was like, this is what the Republicans have been looking for a long time now. They've made their bed. Now they're going to have to lie in it as some neo-Nazi, orange-faced asshole. Actually, I shouldn't call him an asshole, because he's not useful. He's shit. But
Good one.
Where'd you get that from?
You, Steve. That was actually a good video. I thought it was quite funny, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm still going to call people assholes, by the way. I'm not going to hold anybody to that. I just wanted to make that point. But, well, yeah, I mean, I think that it's also, you see the difference between like, because yeah, you're right. There's been the dog whistle racism all along, and the dog whistle racism is what laid the foundation for Trump. I completely agree with that. I've said that too. And but now that he's not dog whistling, I think you can tell the difference. I think there's sort of a blunting effect that it has when we force them to behave themselves. You know, when there's a penalty for not dog whistling. I mean, the dog whistle racism is bad enough, but that's sort of, there's not a whole lot you can do about that because they can always deny it. They can always say, "Oh, that's not what I meant."
Politically correct.
Yeah, exactly.
PC police.
But
don't be such a conservative.
Yeah, exactly. But now that someone like Trump has been allowed to basically crash the stage and just walk around and say and do whatever he wants without anybody challenging him, all those people are like, "Hey, yeah, he's one of ours," you know, and that's what empowers them. If it's having everything sort of be under the table and dog whistle for the last 40 years has been awful, but at least it has kept the worst people from having their voices heard. You know, now with Trump, it's like everybody feels empowered to speak up because he's.
I would argue that 2008 with the Tea Party was actually the big thing. I really would. I would really argue that after 9/11, that's when the xenophobia and Islamophobia and the pandering for the Iraq War caused a lot of more right-wing, or just a lot of people moving to the right. Same thing with the Democratic Party. But the 2008 crash, that was when that whole Tea Party thing, don't tread on my freedom, don't get your government hands on my Medicare. Remember that? I would argue...
My freedom.
My freedom. But I would say that this has been a big buildup, and I do think that moderate Republicans and Democrats are very much to blame with having blinders from how it affected people, how it affected regular making $50,000 a year people, or, you know, across America. They didn't decide to pay attention that people were living in motels because they were cheaper than apartments. They didn't pay attention to people living outside. They didn't pay attention to the fact that, and you know, this is like one of the things I noticed, is that they were finally being treated like certain minorities in this country, and they got a taste of it and they did not like it, and it was bitter. And so when Trump came along at this perfect time, after the Tea Party, after the dog whistling, after all these Sarah Palin books, which Sarah Palin should have been a clear warning. People laughed at her, but Sarah Palin was a precursor to Donald Trump.
Very much.
And
in defense, Sarah Palin was hilarious.
She was hilarious, but it was also some of the things were nervous.
Definitely a warning sign.
Yeah, some of the things
it's hilarious in all the wrong ways.
Exactly. Yeah. But what I think about right now is how moderate Republicans and moderate Democrats, like, and I want to hear you guys' opinions. What do you think moderate Republicans or Democrats are going to become? Like, are they going to, like, form more together? Are moderate Republicans going to turn to Hillary? Or are they going to toe the party line?
Well, the weird thing that I see going on right now, for one thing, is that it seems like there are a lot of disenchanted, self-identified liberals who are suddenly...
Don't you mean disenfranchised?
No. Disenchanted would also work in this context. So disenchanted with the fact that, it would also work because, just the fact that liberals wanted Bernie Sanders to win, and you see people who are supposedly self-identified liberals now, like, in response to him not winning the nomination, that they're either choosing to not vote or do a protest vote that will probably do nothing, or to even go so far as to vote for Donald Trump. And, you know, there are a lot of questions we have to ask, I think, about moderate Democrats and as to why that's happening. And I think, you know, part of it is, I would say, sexism. And I think just, I don't know, just sort of like this obliviousness that comes out of a lot of these people who are acting this way, I think, tend to be men, like male liberals, and that comes out of their privilege. So.
Dude, I did not tell you guys about, oh my God, anytime that I would even try to criticize Bernie Sanders, because I was, you know, Bernie Sanders supporter. I voted for him in the primary, but I remember one time I pointed out that remember when the Black Lives Matter activists went on Bernie's like stage and like you know protested.
Yeah.
Now whether you agree with this or not, they have their First Amendment right. Okay, out of the way. But apparently what the campaign did was as if it's like, oh, see, Bernie lets black women go up there, and yet Killer Mike being like, oh, look at these black women. Well, one of the protesters is actually quite angry that they were using her because she said as we were coming off, people were throwing things at us. People were calling us bitches, sluts. At one point, there had to be other Bernie supporters, like, you know, to guard them, to get them out. Yeah. And she's like, I had a very different recollection. And this guy, this white liberal guy, was just like, this isn't the time to criticize. This isn't the time to do that. This isn't the time to do this. And I'm like, I don't care who I'm talking about. I can talk about Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. This is exactly the time to criticize. And that
I mean, I've criticized Jill Stein quite a bit.
Exactly. Like, this is exactly the time to criticize people running for, oh, I don't know, public service.
Yeah. Should we wait till after the election? I
mean, you know, but like, that's that thing too with the sexism of it. But I also think that for the first time we saw what the Democratic primary looked like, and that we still have a lot of agrarian laws, like, based from them. And I think that's what made people mad, because we didn't learn, unless you take the time by yourself to learn how the legislative branch works, how the primaries work, like why we even vote the day we do. It was a slap in the face to, like you said, those liberals that thought, oh, if I do this, and this is the activist campaign I need to do, and then, sorry, like, you know, we've been sitting on our hands for quite some time. So what I wish that people who are wanting to abstain, it's like, well, then continue your activism. It's not like you just have to stop because of the Bernie revolution. It's not just about Bernie Sanders. It's about you getting out there and, like I said, not abstaining your vote. I do agree with you on that, Kathleen, because it's I've heard that talk and it's just like, ugh. But I do support people who vote for Jill Stein and even Gary Johnson, because at least they're participating. And there's important legislative things on the table right now.
Right. And
that's
it seems like the stakes this year are just so much higher, and that a protest vote is less valid than ever. Because at this point, I mean, we have someone, you know, Donald Trump, who could become president, who's not only an awful person, but like what Steve said, he's an openly awful person. So it's probably going to encourage more people like him to be more open and potentially more violent. And he's unpredictable. He's so much more unpredictable, I think, than any Republican candidate we've had in so long. And because of that, I really don't think that a protest vote is the way to go. I think that we need to think pragmatically and strategically about what is going to, you know, prevent harm being done to marginalized groups and in our democracy. Well, I don't think that it's like really a democracy, but I mean, you know, making it worse than it already is.
Yeah, the plutocracy fun time.
Right now, I'm actually in
the oligarchy fun time.
Yeah, the oligarchy that has a few little democratic things thrown in there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm worried.
I'm actually at this place where I'm voting the lesser of two evils now, so that way, hopefully, a greater good could be achieved tomorrow.
Yeah.
When it comes to Trump getting elected, I'm worried that one of my friends, his father, is still paralyzed from the waist down because of an attack just after 9/11, because he was darker skinned. He basically looked like the stereotypical Muslim, and they beat him. Like, they just... they beat him so badly that he was paralyzed from the waist down. And I am just sitting there thinking, he's not even Arabic. He's Puerto Rican, and he got beat up for looking vaguely like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that happened with that news report of the two Brazilians. They were film students, and some woman literally Trump supporter pulled over and started yelling at them about how they were terrorists. And it was funny because one of them was speaking Portuguese. And I was like, are you serious? What's going on? Like, but no, I also worry about, like I said, my family and my friends. One of my friends, he's Sikh, and he's been, he actually
Sikh, Muslim, same thing to Trump supporters.
No, I know,
Yeah, right.
I know, right? But he actually protested at a Trump rally. I brought him on my channel just to talk with him, but he's talked about how it's like the number of Sikh temples are being attacked more, or like people are showing up, people are beating up and making fun of Sikh children, and it's just like I said, it has been rising, and like like I said, after 9/11, it was that same thing, and it kicked the ball in motion. Hold on.
And this is something that annoys me so about so many anti-feminists and things, that when we try to talk about, like these issues about only Muslims being targeted, but people that like conservatives mistake for being Muslim, that, we try to say, oh yeah, the rates of attack against Muslims has significantly risen post 9/11, and then they just talk about, oh, like Islam, and it's like, okay, we're not talking about that. We're just talking about the people who are being assaulted. Can we please acknowledge the people who are being assaulted?
Exactly. I'm pretty sure that there are atheist Indians or atheist Egyptians or secular
who are getting getting categorized as Muslims and getting beaten up.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, well, then can you denounce them for me? Pretty please, because that's going to really satisfy me. No, I love it, like the whole denounce, the moderate Muslim needs to denounce, because it's just like.
Okay, so does J.K. Rowling need to denounce Rupert Murdoch?
Yeah.
Because they're both Christians.
Yeah. J.K. Rowling, you need to get on that shit.
Well, actually, funny enough, she did a tweet saying that after Rupert Murdoch said, this I think happened in like 2012. Rupert Murdoch was like, most Muslims may be peaceful, but they need to basically apologize for their radical, or they need to take care of their cancer. And then J.K. Rowling's like, so does that mean I have to try and get rid of you? I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
I mean, if she wanted to.
Yeah, I'm against killing. Or I'm not against killing, but I'm against murder.
I don't think she should kill him. Just, lock him in a room or something. Take away his driver's license.
Worse than what? Give him worse than waterboarding. That would be Trump's answer.
Force him to watch Fox News. See how he likes it.
Force him to watch his own creation.
I don't know. He would probably just like nod along and be like, "Yeah, they're right."
This is really good.
Yeah.
Liberals are destroying America.
I like this a lot.
All liberals are communists.
Oh my God, Paul Joseph Watson was right. We really are the devil. That's not the thing I fear regarding this election. No matter who wins or who loses, that asshole's gonna bitch about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Paul Joseph Watson is that guy who complains about how liberals are how liberals are basically communists, and that all their social welfare, all their is just trying to enforce people being lazy. And then he turns around and says capitalism is so great because welfare state. And then it's like, do you even see your contradiction?
It's weird because they record themselves and they can hear it, right? They can hear what they're saying, so that's even more disturbing. To have that, I don't.
Well, I mean, Paul Joseph Watson works for Alex Jones, so he is working in the propaganda industry. So
yeah, I'm just curious what actual religion Watson is, because I know Jones is a Christian, but.
Yep, a conspiracy theorist who fell for the biggest conspiracy of all time, religion.
Well, being a conspiracy theorist is, I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a religion, but there's a lot of parallels between accepting a conspiracy theory and like an unquestioning religious belief, because you both have to be willing to accept things in the absence of evidence, and in many cases in the presence of evidence to the contrary.
And they will argue to the ends of the earth. Never get cornered by somebody who believes the moon landing is fake at a party.
Oh God.
It's the worst night of your life.
You know what the worst, well, the worst part is
that has actually happened to me.
Yeah, happened to me too.
I dated a
I've-
guy who believed that the first moon landing was fake, but then he was like, "But I think that the ones after that were real."
They just did a fake one for practice.
They did a fake one so that they could trick Russia. Is what I heard
That's
from
a
the guy who
popular
told me.
theory.
I just want to do a fake one just to see if we can get people to believe it. Then we'll do the real one. That's fine. But
Well, then why don't you just fucking do the real one anyway?
No, but what you would call it? Oh, what else did I want to talk about? Oh, I want to talk about legislative stuff because I wanted to ask, what do you guys feel about Koch brothers putting more money than they, I think, ever have into the Congress races? Because this is part of the reason why like you said, Kathleen.
I think it's the reason why we'll end up with the same Congress as we've had before.
Yeah, that really concerns me. This isn't been talked about at all. Like, you want to say, like, yeah, Donald Trump wasn't called out. That was one of the biggest mistakes of the media in this one. And two, nobody has paid attention to the legislative because of how much this dog and show pony, whatever, I know that's not the same, but
I keep hearing about this liberal media, but this liberal media I don't think exists because it would have called out Trump from like day one.
I would have called it
my
Trump.
family assures me it exists. But
Yeah, it would have brought up Paul Ryan. It would have brought up all the Republicans over and over again who first said, like, when, Donald Trump's done something bad, but I'm voting for him. Or I'm going to support him because Paul Ryan did that, you know. I wish... Anyway, I don't know. What do you guys think is going to happen with? Are we going to get the same Congress, or are people going to actually turn out? That's my concern.
I
hope people turn out, but I highly doubt people will turn out because we've had for a while just complete voter apathy.
I think it's possible that we might have maybe a tiny uptick in people actually caring about positions other than the presidency, but I would guess that it would not be very significant at all.
Which is a shame because of Supreme Court, and John McCain and Ted Cruz have said, we are going to block any Supreme Court decision, which is literally, you're not doing your job, but two, you are putting literally the Constitution and how it works.
Lighting it on fire.
You're literally, you are making sure that we have 4-4 decisions from the Supreme Court most of the time. How is that productive? How is that not, how can you not
And
be
they say
charged
the
for that?
Democrats are on drugs.
Ted Cruz, ladies and
Well, we
gentlemen.
are. Let's be
One of the
honest.
only Republicans that
sorry.
are worse than...
Well, I've experimented, but yeah.
you know, I think I'm optimistic that the Democrats will have gains in the Senate this time. I don't know if it'll be enough to take a majority, but I think they will at least pick up a couple of seats. But Congress,
If we can pick up more than a third, we can keep vetoes from happening.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see. I would like to see at least a majority of a couple of seats would be fine with me. I mean,
I say we, even though I'm not actually a Democrat and I'm much farther left than most people.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's, you know, there in the way things are shaking out in this election, it's the two sides are the Republicans and people who want to preserve our civilization.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty much.
I fall in the latter category. I don't want civilization to go down.
I want to prefer. Yeah, that's kind of what.
I mean,
the Democratic Party on this side of this election.
The Democratic Party is far from perfect, but given the alternative,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the House of Representatives is going to be a project. Like, that's going to take a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that since Bernie Sanders, here's the other thing that we need to remember: Bernie Sanders is going back to Senate. Now, I think that after this, it's going to be pretty much, do you think Bernie Sanders is going to like step up? Do you think maybe he can even be a majority leader? I don't think Harry Reid's going to step down, but I feel like Bernie Sanders is going to finally have enough fame and power, because that's how this shit works, man. Because that's part of the reason nobody knew who Bernie was. I was listening to Tom Hartman with Brunch with Bernie before anybody knew him, and he was like, I could never get anything done. Like, you know,
That's a great
Congress just goes and watches TV and then they send their rates. It's ridiculous. But
I mean,
now he might have a significant influence not only on the media but also on Senate. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on. Do you think?
I hope so.
Same.
But you know what?
I'd love to see that.
The people who supported Bernie, especially those of us who voted for him in the primary, and especially these Bernie or bust dead enders who are like, I'm not voting for Hillary no matter what. Okay, well, if Hillary wins the election and the Democrats gain a majority in the Senate, you know, stay involved. Like, call your senator, call your congressman, put the pressure on. Make sure people know that if Bernie Sanders is there, that he has a mass of people behind him who support him.
Exactly.
Who are going to be pushing for these progressive policies.
People were really rooting for him to become vice president, and that's clearly not going to happen now. But this is, you know, a bit of an alternative that could be a positive silver lining potentially if, you know, people really rallied behind him. So.
Yeah, absolutely. If Bernie, I mean, because the fear I have about a Hillary Clinton presidency is I'm not really that worried about domestic. I'm worried about international.
Right.
I feel like again, the Lyndon Johnson comparison. Lyndon Johnson was a pretty great president domestically and a pretty terrible president internationally.
He was quite a hawk. I mean, and that's also a big problem with Hillary, is that she has a history as a hawk.
That's Hillary's biggest source of criticism from the left, and that's where I sort of stand with her too. But domestically, if she has a Bernie Sanders in a powerful position in the Senate, backed by the people who are making their voices heard, and Bernie Sanders is there whispering in her ear or dragging her to the left or saying, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this.
Yeah,
I mean, that's almost the best case scenario.
Even Bernie isn't perfect on that, though, and I think we do need to acknowledge that too. Like Natalie said before, we still need to criticize him that he's had some imperialistic tendencies too, but nowhere near as much as Hillary or Obama, for example.
Exactly, and we also need to remember.
I mean, Obama managed to beat Bush's record for most time at war during his presidency.
Oh,
the whole 8 years.
He also had the most people arrested under the Espionage Act since World War I. By the way, the Espionage Act was if you say anything against, or they see it as a threat or endangered. That's part of the reason why Chelsea Manning, and she tried to kill herself again, by the way.
And that's also part of, if I'm correct, that's also something that has something to do with why whistleblowers like Edward Snowden are like in fear of the government, is because due to the Espionage Act, they can be arrested for actions that are considered anti-American.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the Patriot Act and the war on terror has pretty much tainted everybody. I mean,
the Patriot Act, guys. Yeah, that's the other thing too. People have forgotten. The Patriot Act is still around, has not been repealed or anything. So that's one of the things that gets me about this election, is that basically the president can detain anybody they want and not take them to trial or anything. Hold on, is Stuffy going around there, Steve?
I want to hear Stuffy's opinion on this. He's I love Stuffy so much.
My living animal is going around. Stuffy.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. But no, that's the point. It's like people have forgotten that these things are still out there. Hello. Hello.
Achoo! I'm allergic to cats. Even though my logo is a cat.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys feel about that? The fact that there's a Patriot Act and that person can have power still, and that it might not be repealed, regardless of who's voted in.
Well, it's horrifying, and I think like there is a lot of
Patriot Act literally means, with the Patriot Act, activists can literally be arrested just for being activists.
Right. And I feel like there is a lot of distraction from these issues for so many reasons. You know, not only the media, like for example, obsessively reporting on Donald Trump or just like the presidency in general, and not focusing on other issues like well, just issues in general, like besides that. But the fact that a lot of people are so bogged down in America just trying to survive that they're exhausted and they don't have time or energy to educate themselves about these issues. And that's, I think honestly, if we had a better quality of life for a lot of people in the United States, that some of that would change. Yeah, it's my theory personally.
I think the only reason there are poor people that are even voting for Donald Trump is the fact that he's convinced them that it's because of black people, Hispanic people. It's the Mexicans. They're bringing drugs, bringing crime.
Yeah.
They're rapists. I assume some of them are good people. I mean, that's how you get...
Talk about projection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sad because, you know, they have valid concerns, like the fact that some of them are living in poverty and that they're being abused by the establishment, but they're misdirecting their anger in such a gross way.
And they're going through what all of us went through. And that's the thing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I can only play a small violin because they're like, you know what? We all went through that crash. I graduated like college and basically, you know, everyone.
We didn't go through the... We didn't go through the crash. We had affirmative action.
Exactly.
That's what a lot of these people tell us.
Right? But that's the thing with me. It's just like, you know, I understand, but you're, like you said, they're completely misdirected. And also being able to use that dog whistle, I feel like this is like the White Walkers, the zombies coming back to like,
the White Walkers, they're going to knock over the wall.
Them and now they're attacking us because of man. Like, you know, but yeah, it just concerns me with it because, you know, when I was bullied a lot growing up, and what happens is people really like bullies. People really like following bullies, not to mention, like, you know, you see it with Milo Yiannopoulos and his fans. Milo doesn't have to, or Trump, it doesn't really have to directly say what to do or directly say who the target group is. So this is who you need to pay attention to. And hey, like what he's doing with reporters. Like I've heard reporters like from some of these rallies talking about it is really weird when Donald Trump will start talking about how horrible the media is. And then all of his supporters turn around and look at them and yell at them. I have no idea how creepy and terrifying that would be of like Children of the Dam style. Like, sorry, I'm referencing a lot of horror movies, but I mean, it's suiting, right?
It's relevant.
But
I mean, yeah, and also just how tall has Trump promised that wall to be? It's got to be like 600 feet tall by now. I mean, every time someone asks him about it, it gets 10 feet taller. I mean,
wow.
I mean,
I love when Vicente Fox was like, "We are not going to pay for
that fucking wall."
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'll have to be tall enough to keep airplanes out too, right?
Yeah, it will be.
I mean, just I've actually said that if Trump is elected, he won't have to worry about building the wall. The whole world will build a giant dome around us to keep all our racism and misogyny quarantined.
That'll be the rest of the world will finally give up on us.
No, that travels around. We learned it from somewhere. Britain, France.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, look at Brexit.
Yeah, that shit's everywhere. It's not just the USA. It's just particularly volatile in the USA.
Well, I think it's because we're a bit of a new country. Yeah. We forget how new we are in a historical sense. People think, oh, the long, long history.
I mean, if you look at the left-wing presence, here versus other parts of Europe, like if you look at Scandinavia, there's a big far-left anarchist or communist presence. Well, actually, those aren't mutually exclusive, but you got the anarchists and other communists, just all kinds of them, democratic socialists, the far radical left. They're a much bigger force in these other countries. So they've been able to drag their political system much farther to the left than it is here. But in America, it's when it comes to our left-wing presence, it's almost like exclusively liberals.
Yeah.
We're like the phone company. We're working on it.
We're working on
That
it.
sums it up.
Well, I think a lot of Americans, a lot of us are pragmatists, and that's a good thing. But I think too much pragmatism can kind of limit your horizons.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's why there aren't as many, or at least why the really like radical leftists who are really pushing for like reforming the entire system aren't as powerful or as loud or as influential, because that feels that because we're so pragmatic, we feel like, yeah, but that's never going to happen.
It's like I'm pragmatic in the sense that like I'm not going to not take anything short of what I want.
Right.
And it's just that I'm going to pull as much as I can to get what I can. I mean, that's how politics works. And as people learn that that's how politics works, maybe we can get things done.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, one of the things that got me...
If Trump doesn't declare himself dictator.
No, he'll be chancellor, not dictator. Remember? Like, but no.
Reorganized into the First Galactic Empire.
First Galactic Empire. But no, like, I don't know. One of the things that gets me is, you know, because I'm a socialist, and one of the things I even see with other socialists is trying to focus mainly on an academic approach. You know, there is a lot of activism, and part of the reason I do like, you know, socialists is I find out where the protests are. I find out what time it is, where it is. Well, you know, do you need to bring a milk bottle just in case? You know, with the, but I haven't been to a protest where they have pepper spray or anything. It's usually every time it's been pretty chill. But I've had friends who one of them was at Standing Rock. One of them went out to the Chicago protest.
It burns. It burns.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
Oh yeah. But
it's worse than it's worse than getting a Carolina Reaper in your eye. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's what gets me about with the DAPL protesters. Right now, they are literally being treated like combatives, like literally being treated as if. I mean, it's really disgusting how much of an American tradition it is to screw over the Native Americans, but especially when
shot with rubber bullets, and those things aren't like. And
then they call it non-lethal, but it's like if you just look up.
Non-lethal doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, and it doesn't.
Right.
Well, it doesn't mean it doesn't destroy your face. I mean,
one of the horses died.
Oh gosh.
No, remember like the bison that came on, or the bison that showed up? They were guided by horses. I saw this Amy Goodman on Democracy Now! And one of the horses, they shot at the horsemen who were leading the buffalo. One of the horses was injured so badly that they had to put it down.
Oh, God.
So just to give you a really symbolic idea of what's going on and what's happening.
But System of a Down assures me they're rubber bullet kisses.
Wait,
or they tell me
System of a Down? Is it 2005? What?
Well, actually, that song's 2001.
Ooh,
that's a song from 2001. Although it's about how protesters are treated with they're treated not with kid gloves. They're treated like they're criminals by the police, and they referred to when police use rubber bullets as rubber bullet kisses. Baton courtesy service with a smile.
A lot of people don't realize, too, that things like tasers, for example, can trigger seizures in people, especially with conditions like epilepsy, and that can kill you. And
and if you have a heart condition.
Exactly, yeah.
I just remembered the name of the song. It was Deer Dance. That's
all right. Viewers, Deer Dance.
If you want to know the song I'm referencing.
Get it on your iPod while you're running.
Well, I mean, I actually have the song owned on Google Play.
Ooh,
big shot.
Hey, anyway, guys, I actually have about less than 15 minutes, so I actually have to head out now. So.
See you, Danny.
Bye, Danny.
You can come
Thanks for joining us.
Bye, Danny.
Hit that red phone button and then.
Yep.
Yeah, hit the red phone button.
Yeah, hit the red. Hang up the red phone.
Oh God, the red phone.
Yeah, what sucks about cell phones is you can't hang up with authority anymore.
Yeah, I know, right? Unless you throw it across the room.
Well, I mean, so then I technically have hung it up authoritatively because just my brother wouldn't leave alone, and I threw my phone across the room, and I had to get it replaced. I'm just glad I had insurance on it.
You had insurance on? Oh yeah, you can get insurance on your phone. But hold on, I had another question. About that I want to throw to you guys about this. Oh, okay. Who is like gonna be watching the TV? Do you think that crime's gonna go down kind of like with the World Series with the Cubs? Like I'm talking about, I feel like people are gonna be glued on November 8th and people are gonna make buku bucks. But
wait, how long has it been since the Cubs have won the World Series? Like
108 years.
108 years.
Wow, they beat the Red Sox on that.
Yeah.
Although I've got to see the Red Sox win 3 times in my lifetime, so.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the Red Sox wasn't just the amount of years; it was how close they always came, and they blew it.
They also had like this hilarious run.
Didn't they beat the Yankees in 2004? I can't remember.
They beat the Yankees in the ALCS.
The Yankees.
Yeah. Well, they had like this running curse, supposedly. It's something about a piano being dropped in a lake, and then they found the piano.
No, but it was crazy that day. Cause I was out. I had a comedy show I was playing at, and I heard all of a sudden, like you could literally hear the entire city screaming. Now, this is my thoughts on November 8th. And like, if the election, and especially because I live in Chicago, it's mainly, Hillary supporters. I just wonder if that's going to be the same thing, but sad. Like this outcry. Like, I don't know. I don't know, but I also think because they had noted like this is going to be like Beatle concerts where crime rates are going to drop because people are going to be watching the TV.
Yeah, I think that's possible for November 8th, but once the election is over, you gotta wonder, I mean, like...
We say November 8th like it isn't tomorrow.
I know, I don't want to think about tomorrow.
I know it's tomorrow, but I just, whatever.
Stop.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I'm committed to appear in a couple of Hangouts tomorrow night, but I'm limiting those to just a little bit of time because I mean, I kind of want to be glued in front of the TV. I'm so anxious to see what happens that I don't want to be like, I want to talk about it. I want to, make my voice heard. But at the same
I don't even
time,
have cable, but
I just want to sit on the couch and wait for it to be over.
Yeah.
I don't even have cable. I'll have to wait for it to be like reported the next day.
Well, tweet, but you got the tweet. You can check the tweet and tweet it.
Or just go to the liquor store and wait and see, like, who's buying champagne and who's buying liquor.
And who's crying.
I mean, I wouldn't be allowed to actually buy anything from the liquor store because I'm not old enough yet.
Oh, if only I could go there and buy you some, I would totally for you.
I said my age at on Natalie's Hangout with her.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm not saying it because it makes
I'm
me
11
feel
years. I'm 11 years behind her. So
shut
18.
up. Thank you. Okay. No, I said my age on this thing before. Yeah. Wait, we'll call it. Oh, what else did I want to throw out there?
Well, I have a question. So what do we? Okay, so we already know that there's been some kid who shoot Trump. Do we think that anybody's going to try that with Hillary if she won the presidency? That's like one question.
Oh, I heard a false flag on that thing about the person with a gun. I heard that it was a protester and somebody yelled gun.
Oh no, this was before. This was like a month.
Oh, that other okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wait, so assassination against Hillary? No. Yeah. No, she makes too many people money. She passes too. I'm serious with all her.
Well, I mean, what about for a low-level what about for like a
low-level Republican?
Or
a civilian Republican.
I think that her Secret Service knows, especially because we're not getting the hate mail or the hate tweets or the hate whatever emails, dare I say.
I think there may be attempts or threats, but I don't think it'll actually happen.
Yeah.
I think that there's a vested interest to try to keep the first female candidate safe. Right. Because people forget how much of an impact the JFK assassinations and Martin Luther King's assassination had to not only make the Secret Service look bad. So ever since then, they've kind of been like, oh shit.
We've got to be.
We got to be better at this,
and
we got to find people who are getting paid off and finding out information, because that's what
statistically.
Yeah,
statistically speaking, it's actually the most dangerous job when it comes to its death rate. President of the United States. 10%, or well, now it's just under 10%, but yeah, it's like 1/11 of all our presidents have been assassinated. Not while they were in office, but just in general have been assassinated and have had attempts.
The attempts, yeah. That guy who almost shot Reagan for Jodie Foster. That must have been a surprise when he found out.
Yeah, I was just about to say, isn't Jodie Foster a lesbian?
Yeah. That must have been, oh man, all for naught.
Well, I think someone should have shot him for pissing all over the all over the working class, like he did.
It's never for the right reason.
Yeah, I know. To be fair,
of course, I'm joking. If the government is watching this, I'm joking. Sorry.
When Hinckley took a shot at Reagan, he had just gotten started pissing on the lower class. So, give him a few years to work up a head of steam.
Yeah.
But here's a good point. I actually have a real point. One of the things that bothered me with people underestimating Trump was we've had an example of a movie star. We've had multiple examples of movie stars getting elected. Reagan is a very perfect example of somebody, he worked for, tobacco companies as a commercial actor. He already had started making these friends, and him and Nancy Reagan really had an idea of what they wanted to be. They were literally the show. That's what Reagan was. And also it's rumored that, part of the reason he had Alzheimer's, or he was having problems with Alzheimer's as it went on.
My dad interviewed Reagan, and he was quite senile.
Yeah, so it's like we've had an example of the American public electing a movie star, TV star, and even on the other spectrum, Al Franken, and it's Jesse Ventura independent. And now I'm not saying Jesse Ventura and Al Franken have done like bad jobs per se. Quite the contrary, I think Al Franken has done amazing work, but we can't underestimate just because of reality TV. More people were voting for American Idol than they were for the election.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I know that it's true, but that's like absolutely like the definition of insanity. Just.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the mere fact that a person comes from like an entertainment background, it isn't necessarily a reason to think that you shouldn't vote for them. And it's also not necessarily a reason to think they'll do like a good job or a bad job. I mean,
I have these weird friends who don't know anything about the election who are just voting for Trump because they think it'll be hilarious to have a TV star in office.
Oh,
and I just kind of sit there like, no, you're a moron.
They will be Trump. The death of us all.
Right.
That's like a Brexit mentality. We really need to take Brexit as a lesson. I think it was
hate crime shot up right after Brexit was done.
Oh yeah, no, there's a huge problem with a lot of Muslims or like the Middle Eastern people who, because some people are stupid. But yeah, I really think that
I bet even a few Mediterranean people have been victims too, because sometimes they can have darker skin.
Racism is sometimes stupid, not on multiple levels. But I think that hopefully everybody takes Brexit as a lesson as to why this election is important. And the next day, people not realizing, like the reports of people looking up, wait, what is Brexit? The next day after the vote.
Yeah.
That is so depressing. And I don't want the next day to be, wait, what is the power of the executive branch? I don't want that to happen, but
also how John Oliver referred to it was, it's like waking up the next morning and asking, can you get pregnant from mouth stuff?
The scariest part of that is, not only do we have the Brexit vote to look at as an example, But that's already been happening in our own election. Like all of a sudden, like all these people, like they just figured out that Donald Trump is an asshole.
Mm.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has always been an asshole. Donald Trump has been an asshole from the first moment anybody knew his name. He's been an asshole since anybody knew who he was. And
Well, I mean, in my defense, the first time I knew who he was in WWE, where he was supposed to be the good guy against Vince McMahon.
oh boy, those were good times, huh?
And he's
Donald
also
Trump was the
never been-
babyface.
I mean, you were like even Hulk Hogan would be a better president because at least he apologizes for his racism.
Well, yeah, and Donald and Hogan will sell for you, you know.
Yeah.
Donald Trump doesn't sell for anybody.
Well, I mean,
but yeah,
Hogan's job was basically to no sell. When you actually look at a lot of things, he was terrible at selling, like that choke slam from Undertaker.
well, yeah, but he did. I mean, Hogan. I don't want to get into a wrestling
I'm
discussion. 'cause
so
that'll take
glad
forever.
that you made that decision there, Steve.
But yeah,
No,
but-
yes, about
But no, like everybody's acting like, you know, oh my God, that what Trump said on that Access Hollywood tape was terrible. Yeah, no shit. He's a terrible person. He was always been a terrible person.
One
I
of
mean,
the-
didn't he, when someone asked him what he had in common with his daughter, didn't he respond with sex? Or
I
something
don't
like
wanna
that?
think
He's so
about
creepy
that.
about his
That
daughter.
creeps
Oh.
me out so much, and I feel so I feel so sad for his daughter and his wives and any woman he's ever been in contact with ever.
Yeah,
Well,
same
here's
here.
one of the things that got me. I did a video on, and I had to disable the comments. I did a video on the Chicago protest of Donald Trump. And this pissed me off so badly because the way that they reported it, and I had friends on the ground, I had literally seen the video of Trump protesters beating up. They were punching women. They were punching, like one of my friends had her knee fucked up because somebody, Trump supporter, pushed her. And she's actually went to Standing Rock too. Like she's a little badass. But the way the media reported it was this false equivalency stuff. They'll say protesters and Trump supporters clash, and they'll write in the article, you know, some of the details, but with the way that we understand clickbait, you know, it was
At a Trump rally because I was protesting. It was, yeah,
exactly.
one of the supporters tried to start a fight with me because I basically was like, because I had a sign for Bernie.
Yeah, no, and the thing is that really made me mad that was an opportunity at that Chicago protest. People were asking, the media was asking, oh, why don't people protest Donald Trump more? Why don't people protest Donald Trump more? And then you had a successful thing of protesters shutting them down, and then they were like, oh, well, they did it wrong.
Yeah.
They did it wrong because they were calling out the xenophobia, the racism, the sexism before. And then they did, like, that was the thing that really upset me. Like you said, Steve, earlier, with the failures of the media to accurately report and to accurately paint the situation. But they wanted to, you know, popularize all of it.
It's just like, what the hell are all of these
Yeah.
journalism schools for anymore? Like, what's
Exactly.
happening?
Well, and now
What's
they're
happening between the journalism school and when they, you know, become reporters and
I mean,
and
as much as I
journalists?
it's where they work. It's where
As
they
much as
get
I
hired.
dislike the Young Turks, I mean, when it comes to the mainstream media on TV, they do way better than the actual, like, what's the corporate media at actual journalism.
Yeah.
Same thing with Amy Goodman on Democracy Now! She was the one on I love one on CNN. She said, "You guys are to blame for this. You showed Donald Trump just standing up like for 20 minutes while there was another thing of Bernie Sanders talking. She brought up the statistics of it, and nobody talked about it after Amy Goodman said it. It's really unfortunate when I can find out more things on Facebook Live than I can via newspaper. And now this stuff is biting them in the butt because now they have these journalist pens, like I said, and now the Trump supporters, literally children of the dance style, looking at them anytime Trump starts being like, and in the media, and it's rigged, and that. And journalists have said, I'm scared going there. He has bans on journalists. They failed, and now they're getting,
Oh yeah, he's going to he's going to expand, or I think it was like retract parts of the First Amendment so that he can, or no, expand libel laws. That's what he said, so that he can sue journalists.
You?
I mean, the guy threatened to sue me before I even turned 18 because I made a joke about him having small hands. I mean, do we want that guy to be president of the United fucking States?
Well, this sort of reminds me of something that my dad told me years ago, and he was a news reporter and a producer for a couple of different channels. He worked for ABC and then he worked for NBC, and he actually told me at one point that it's not entirely uncommon for people in different levels of government and also like corporations and things to come to journalists and reporters and stuff privately and say, we want you to like change something, or we want you to hold off on this story and delay it, or just, you know, not put it out there entirely. And a lot of journalists and news reporters and whatnot will sometimes cave, and they'll do, you know, what they're told. And so there's sort of this it's
an incentive. It's an incentive to make sure that you maintain your connections, that you maintain a door into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that when it came to House of Cards portrayed that relatively accurately when it comes to the relationship between journalists and politicians. I mean, the way where it's kind of like you have to really suck up to the politician and try not to make them look bad, and they'll just give you sources so that you can make so that you can get a story that'll help you progress further on in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And then these politicians don't get addressed, and basically everything just we then live in a world where forget about beer goggles. It's media goggles. Like, we aren't seeing anything.
That's a great. Yeah, I'm gonna have to use that.
Yeah, that's a good
goggles.
way to say it.
I mean, beer goggles will make you see everything. Will make you see people as more attractive. This will make you see everything as more attractive than it is.
Yeah.
And constantly.
Speaking of, what do you guys feel about the FBI doing that? We're investigating, and then again, we're not investigating with
I was just like, my jaw dropped when I heard that they were opening that again.
Just in time.
What's happening?
I mean, investigate Trump. I mean, there's been claims that he has relationships with underage girls. I mean,
yeah.
If that's not true, I want to fucking know.
No, women
so that
don't
I'm not
matter.
going.
Women do not matter. That's part of the reason nobody cares.
Yeah.
It just sucks, but the amount of times I've seen people defend sexual assault right after, nobody cares. Using things like, oh, well, he said that they let you, which means consent, and this and that.
All what Dave Chappelle said. Did you see that when Dave Chappelle?
No.
He made an excuse for the Trump tape. He said Trump said that when you're famous, they let you do it. That implies consent, which it doesn't.
No,
it just means they didn't make a physical effort to stop you.
Dave,
I hate to tell you, that doesn't imply consent.
To be fair to Dave, he said that his words were twisted because he's like, I'm absolutely not a Trump supporter. But the thing is that doesn't stop you being sexist.
Right.
I've seen plenty of white liberals who have tried to justify sexual assault, rape. You know, it's one of those things. So that is unfortunate how ubiquitous it is, and also with the internalized sexism, which I'm really glad, in a way, really glad that this is exemplifying internalized sexism. You have people who are calling mothers and grandmothers saying it's fine.
They're supposed to be against this kind of stuff, yet they've somehow made excuses saying, oh, the media is trying to bring down Trump, and as much as we hate Trump, it's like. And then also a lot of them will just say reactionary things in general, and then I just kind of sit there like, how can you consider yourself an anarchist when this is
literally
you are making excuses? I mean, they're making excuses for Trump, saying that, oh, well, there's probably some lies, probably a couple of the cases are real, but most of them are probably just meant to take him down. I'm sitting there like, what? I mean, can there at least be an investigation so that if they are fake, we can move on?
Like, let's actually take this seriously, you know, because it is incredibly
it could work in either side's favor if we actually investigate it, because if we investigate it and we find that some of the claims are bogus, then we can drop those claims and stop using them.
Well, yeah,
And then
it's like the thing with, I like that Anthony Weiner is getting investigated. I do, because, you know, doing that to a 15-year-old girl, first off.
Yeah.
And that means he's probably done this with other teenage girls, which and no Republican has given Anthony Weiner the motherfucking benefit of the doubt. Not that he deserves it, but Donald Trump or Dennis Hazard, you know, who had been molesting children.
he might be our next president.
He was
We can't talk about him.
Yeah.
But no, Dennis Hazard, yeah. There is
the former
no
speaker.
way that you can do it. Or with the Josh Duggar thing, when we found out that he had molested his sisters, oh, well, we need to forgive. We need to forgive because Christian blah, blah.
I mean, I can understand how his family reacted. I can understand why they reacted that way, because they were probably in shock. It doesn't mean it was the right way to react or that they should have reacted that way.
This is the problem. That causes so many psychological problems. And there are a lot of children that end up doing that or end up being victimized by that and having to be around their assaulter. That definitely makes things worse. Like I'm simply saying, like, trying to be fair to them. I understand why they probably didn't do it, but they were in the wrong, and I'm going to say that they were. Yeah, and you don't take your son to somebody who has been. Anyway, but the point is that Donald Trump gets the benefit of the doubt all the time. He will always get the benefit of the doubt, and especially with sexism and racism being this like underbelly pot. And it's the people who there are people who consider themselves liberals who are like, oh, I'm going to vote for Trump because Hillary's that bad. Yeah. Because Hillary's a feminazi.
And that's another thing that sort of blew me away recently was this whole, yes, I'm going to bring it up, the whole Dusty Smith shit, where he was like, you know, still an awful person, but actually calling out his own side on this really weird phenomenon of how, yes, you have the hardcore, you know, like white supremacists and stuff like neo-Nazis and KKK who support Trump, but you also have this really weird faction of people that don't have like the same extreme beliefs as those people, but are like, they're just like totally
they're voting for Trump because they're against the SJWs.
They're so deluded. And Dusty Smith has, you know, pointed out, if you look at the actual fucking policies, the record of policies, yes, Hillary is still not ideal, but she domestically is far more liberal and far more, you know, supportive of women and people of color, and you know, still not good at that. And she should be, but far better than Trump. And if you just like look at the fucking policies, it's there. And
and
even AIU has come in support of Hillary, which I mean. What does that say about the rest of the anti-feminist community? When Doxy the Kangaroo has come and said, I don't support Trump, I support Hillary.
Regardless, so here's the point that I take away from it is, regardless of who they say they're supporting in the election, they're all garbage.
And
I don't I don't, you know what I mean? Like I'm glad that Dusty has had this brief little moment of clarity. I think that's great.
Right.
But you know, he's got a long way to go.
Oh yeah.
He's still an asshole.
He's still and he's still an asshole, and he's still friends with assholes.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, what gets me, and it was
TJ says vote for Trump. I mean,
what gets me is the whole thing that Dusty had pointed out. We were atheists. Is this skepticism? Is it skepticism just to like forget that how many evangelicals are supporting, how many like ideas with Mike Pence not wanting women to even have the choice over their body? This isn't a hard thing to actually think skeptically. But they've gotten to a point, I really like the point that he made, that they have gotten to a point where they have to pander. Maybe they're trapped in a cage, maybe not, but does it matter? Does it matter if Sean Hannity is actually this really cool guy in real life and loves people? No, because he's pandering to horrible things, and ideas and words are important. You can't act like they are not.
You know what I get the feeling about a lot of these people who, you know, have identified as liberals and are now like supporting Trump are that what's happened is that they have become, you know, just really apathetic because they haven't gotten their way. I feel like they don't even realize this, but they feel like they can afford to be apathetic because they don't have as much to lose as people who are less privileged than them.
You know, I think there's a good parallel to be drawn between a lot of the toxic anti-feminist atheist YouTubers and the Republican Party, because you know, one of the things that people say about them a lot is about the anti-SJW YouTubers maybe trying to be sympathetic or trying to make excuses for them, is they'll say, like what Natalie just said, like that not, and not, obviously you weren't trying to make an excuse for them, but you know, that they're trapped by their audiences.
Yeah,
they've built this persona up to the point where now people expect them to just shit all over feminists and shit all over Black Lives Matter activists, and that's just what they have to do. And the Republican Party is the same way. The Republican Party has pandered to the worst instincts and prejudices of its base for 40 years, and now they're kind of stuck with it. Like it's the bed that they made, and now they have to lie in it.
Like I said at the beginning about how they made their bed with Donald Trump, and now they have to lie with this absolutely orange pile of shit.
And and just as with the Republicans and Trump and the anti-SJW YouTubers, it doesn't matter anymore whether they mean it or not, whether they were just trolling, whether they were just you know, trying to pander to personally, I don't care. I've had people make excuses for TJ to me, saying, well, if you knew him personally, he's not really like that. I don't care.
Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
I don't care. That doesn't mean I'm going to like his channel.
The only reason that I do care is that I think that we should try to dissect this to prevent this shit from happening in the future. That's my only motivation here. I don't care about them like on a personal level. I'm not trying to say that we defend them on a personal level. I'm trying to say, like, I don't know. I like to figure out like what makes people tick, why people do things, because I think if we can figure that out and also figure out systemically what makes that happen, then we can maybe prevent it.
Look at what TJ said to Korcz too, when Korcz asked about the like anti-feminists and feminists working together on some men's issues that can be agreed upon. And TJ's like, well, unless you've got 1 million subscribers, you can't fucking work with me.
Which is like, oh wow, so that's what it's about. Oh, remember that the questions was like, oh, do you care about being popular? Remember that thing?
Also with Steve Shives too, he's like, my channel is coming closer to 1 million subscribers as Steve's is slowly dying as he's losing like 2,000 subs a day.
Well, and you know, my answer to that is, I mean, not necessarily with my channel specifically, because it's not about me. I don't give a shit. I mean, I give a shit, but nobody else has to give a shit what happens to my channel. But the fact that you can build a 1 million sub audience by just spewing sewage out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And just
is that something to be proud of?
I mean, I could have easily done
that's
on
the
that
problem.
4 years ago.
That's
4 years ago, I could have picked up a camera and just started spewing bullshit.
Yeah.
That I actually believed back then.
The fact
and
that
I would be popular right now.
Yes. Go ahead.
And it's so absurd too, because you know, Fox News is quite popular in the United States, and I bet you, and any money that TJ would rail against Fox News and be like, oh, just because they're popular doesn't mean that, you know, they're.
He used to. He used to do that all the time.
Yes, but you know, if you make that argument towards him, like, oh, well, maybe your channel is utter crap, but you're still popular, that doesn't mean that it's not.
Yeah, I mean, Korcz tried to make that argument to me when we had our quote debate. He basically was like, so why do you think there are more anti-feminists than feminists? Because there just are. There are more, I'm like, there just are on YouTube. It's more popular on YouTube. That's all. That doesn't mean anything.
I need to get this out because, that's the thing, is when I have brought up some of the concepts, like gynocentrism, or like actually talked with people of what they are saying, they are completely aghast. They have no idea. Like, it's like, wait, is that a real thing? Here's part of it. So
my mom just thought it was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. So
like,
you have YouTube where these guys are able to make money. But what I see, and part of the reason I even started this channel was like, I don't know if they're really getting out, or like even like I think that they're so devoted to almost living on YouTube.
Yes.
And that has been one of the things that's part of the reason they talk about us with echo chambers. I'm like, baby, go outside to a comedy show, take a walk, you know, read a good book. And
read a book.
You know,
I mean, even George Carlin wasn't an anti-feminist. He made jokes about feminism, but he wasn't.
He made jokes about everything. Exactly. Like,
yeah.
But like, so that's part of the reason why subs are so important to them, or like things like that are so important. I don't care if I'm at like 1,500. I don't give a butt. Fuck.
I'm at like 276, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
what my important thing, and like I liked when Kevin Logan made this point, and I know it was made. I'm never going to make content that I am embarrassed of or ashamed of. And that's important. Now I want to make content that I can look back, and maybe I might disagree with myself at one point, but at least I know that I did the work and I did research and that I can be proud of what I said. And not for subscribers, not for that stuff. That is so much more important to me than, you know, I don't know. Like I said, like I could do a whole different like thing, straighten my hair,
it would be
get more
awesome.
cute for more subscribers, but you know,
you could do the Blair White thing and just absolutely trash SJWs despite being marginalized.
I could do all of it, man. You know, I can lie, but I don't want to. And
I mean, I could do what TJ did and like be the bisexual guy who's anti-SJW. Just plus I'm biracial too, so throw that in there.
We got ours. We got our token. Get our token.
Yeah, we've got our token.
I need my token to defend me. Get my token to defend me.
But it's like I know I still experience white privilege because my hair is rarely curled because it's almost always short.
Yeah, you and I are similar in that end. But like,
when my hair does grow longer, it looks. I've been told that like people have just asked me like if it comes from my black side. I'm like, no, I have curly hair on all sides of my
White
family.
people have curly hair too.
It's like my mom's
the Moors,
Irish.
Of the Moors.
My mom's Irish. My dad's Italian.
Invasion of the Moors. Southern Italians are darker than Northern Italians. Same thing with Spain.
But yeah, I think it does seem like with the YouTube thing, that the one thing that a lot of these anti-feminists do have to lose is, you know, the money and the attention that I think that they're addicted to, and they need to, you know, they want to pay their mortgage, et cetera, et cetera. They could get another job possibly, but, you know, that's something that they possibly feel trapped by, excuse they're doing, but it could explain that. And that combined with, you know, outside of YouTube and outside of like that personal life, that they do have less to lose socially. And it's, I think honestly, you know, we can try to argue with them, and we might be able to bring some people over to being closer to our side or being slightly better people. But I think honestly, the best thing that we can do is try to reach out to young people and have a positive influence on them and try to give them some perspective, because they're a lot more open, I think, and a lot more.
Well, I mean, I don't think if feminism had found me at an older age that I would have been receptive to it. I mean, feminism found me at around like 15. I wasn't quite on board yet, and then around 16 I started to come around to it, and I also came around to anarchism too. Feminism actually led me into it. Yeah, I know, cultural Marxism.
I am the culturist Marxist under your bed.
Yeah,
I'm a socialist.
I just realized that Steve is the only straight person in this room.
Yay!
Token hetero. You, Steve.
He's our token hetero.
You're our token.
I'll be the token hetero.
Yep.
But no, one of the sorry, wait, are you? But one of the things I was thinking about, have you seen those recent reports? Because like they also get to young people too, and that's what scares me. You remember that report of that kid who was like, hold your bladder because of your period?
No, that's
I was talking to my friend Emma, and I said, did you hear about that Meninist who was like, hold your bladder? I'm like, how the hell do these people, like, how did he skip middle school health class?
They don't care. No, people cut class. Remember, people cut class and health class, everybody cut. But no, but that's the problem. Instead of going to health class, He went on YouTube and then listened to people that he agreed with. That's what a lot of these I've been seeing more young and
So
young
now
kids.
now he doesn't even know menstrual blood is a thing.
Well, no, he found out.
that
Oh,
it's-
he found out. Oh my
Oh,
god.
he got
his
educated.
girlfriend was pissed.
Educated.
Well,
Didn't his
I feel
girlfriend
bad
break
for
up
his-
with him?
Yes, and I would feel bad for his mother. His mother would be like, "What did I do wrong? What did I do
Because his
wrong?"
mother has
Where
to
did
love
I
him.
go wrong?
Something too that I think that I don't know, like, because I get the impression that, you know, there could be situations like this where not only the school could have a positive impact, but parents could have a positive impact too. But there are plenty of parents in America that are overworked and, again, don't have as much time to really spend with their kids. And,
Exactly.
you know, otherwise, parents who could be like really great parents, but the system bogs them down and screws them over, so they don't have a chance to like educate their children. And some of them don't know how to either.
My mother made sure to educate me, but I understand that that's not the experience with all children. I mean, my mom gave me a whole bag of condoms and like just explained everything.
Go forth, my son.
She explained menstruation and
See, my mom was a doctor, so when I was 6 and I asked her where babies came from, she just like looked at me and she whipped out this giant thick medical textbook and slapped it down in front of me.
I've waited for this day.
You know what?
I've waited.
My mom just said when I asked her where do babies come from, she was like, "Oh, the parents have sex." That's all she said. Well, she had 3 jobs. She had 3 jobs. Like, I don't know why I ended up getting interested in reading, because I never had a problem in school, but my mom always had to work 2 to 3 jobs growing up. So we had to be with our grandparents, but it was the situation, like, you know, I just am astounded by the ignorance of the problem with YouTube. That is the big problem with YouTube, is you just pick your favorite. And it's not, you don't know whether the sources are good or bad, right? Some of this is for entertainment, and, you know, but the problem is that, like, you know, John Oliver and, you know, Trevor Noah remind the audience, like, this is a comedy show. They remind them of that. YouTube, they don't do that.
Right.
They don't. They want it to be like, no, I have validity in this. I have, like, this or that. I'm the next Bill Hicks.
I'm the next. Yeah. Well, I mean, the funny thing with Thunderfoot is I think I've made plenty of jokes where I'm like, but he tells me it's right, so it must be. He's a science. He's a scientist. He can never be wrong, even if it's in a field where that's not his, and people in that field are telling him he's wrong. Like, even then, he's not wrong because he's Thunder Christ.
Well, you know, I mean, the other difference between like the John Olivers and Bill Hicks and George Carlin and like these anti-feminist YouTubers is all those comedians knew how to write a joke.
Yeah.
And
and they know the definition of satire. Oh my god, if I hear one more satire, if I hear one more people, oh my god, read Thomas Paine, oh my god.
Yeah.
Satire.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Sorry, because that gets me.
Gets me too.
Failed joke does not equal satire.
No. And just saying something horrible and then saying I didn't mean it doesn't equal a joke.
Hitler was great. That was satire.
Yeah, it's like that's, and what it kills me how a lot of them.
And that's actually not even an exaggeration. That's what Avalion did, was she was like, oh yeah, that whole thing, that was just satire. I was pretending to be pro-Hitler.
Yeah, a lot.
I'm like, well, that's not satire. That's Poe's law. I mean, even if you were faking, that would be Poe's law.
A lot of them will even say that they fancy themselves comedians. Yeah. Like they'll use that word. They'll say, "Oh, we're just comedians."
That's a comedian.
And well, that's the funniest joke you've ever told.
Right?
If that's the case, because I mean.
But I'm sure, like, if they actually studied comedy and looked at, like, the form and structure of what makes a joke work, that they would probably get chewed out by real comedians. They'd be like, you're fucking awful. Like, you have no idea how to do comedy. You don't know how it works.
I mean, Dick Poplin's a real comedian.
Yeah,
I mean, when it comes to...
he actually does sets on stage, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of comedian friends who you see people people bomb. You see people working out, and like it takes like almost like a year to finally get that set down. But I've seen comedians. One of my favorite comedians. He pretends to be a child molester, and that sounds horrible, right? It's like, oh my god! But I have never laughed so much. I was rewatching The Addams Family, and they make jokes about incest, about rape. Like they make horror, like because like remember the thing of like, oh, you're a lady killer, Gomez, and he's like acquitted. You know what I'm saying? They're making horrible, like, oh my god, jokes, but it works because of the writing. You know that there is that's part of the humor.
SpongeBob also did. SpongeBob also pulled off a prison rape joke where it was like he handed Gary 2 bars of soap. Yeah. He's like, but I mean, it pulled it off much better. I mean, I was a kid and I didn't realize until later in life. I'm like, wow, the first person joke I ever heard. I was about like 5 years old.
My favorite.
When he told him not to drop 2 doubloons, which were actually represented by bars of soap.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't like those jokes anymore, though. I want those to retire.
Yeah. There was.
But I mean, that got away much better than it would with any of these other people because they managed to write it in a way that kids didn't see it, and parents were laughing while their kids were watching it, and the kids would laugh because their parents were laughing because. Yeah. I mean, at least that was how it happened with me. But I mean, like now if I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't find that funny because, well, rape culture, but it slipped in much better than just someone just telling someone not to drop soap because they went around it.
I've seen, like, that's the thing, like, with comedy, if you're going to tackle the subject, it has to do with writing. It has to do with the pacing. It has to do, you have to make your intent clear. But one of the things is if you don't know, sometimes it'll be rambling and misguided, and then all of a sudden there's this weird, horrible, awkward joke. You know, and I'm trying to think.
He got a hand job from a minor. No, not a minor, not minor. You know, a grown man who works in a mine?
Well, I know. Oh, yeah, the mining.
Sorry,
gold mining.
That was Louis C.K. who made that joke.
Well, you know, there's something else. There's another point that sort of differentiates the wannabe anti-feminist YouTubers from actual comedians, and I mean actual like good comedians. Mm-hmm. And that is, good comedians are vulnerable. Good comedians make fun of themselves. Good comedians make themselves.
It's about part of the power structure.
Have any of you guys seen a Dick Coughlin set at all?
No,
I mean I think.
Oh yeah,
I
think he's great.
Yeah.
He is. He's really good, and he does that. He will, and all. I can't think of a comic, a stand-up comic that I truly love, who didn't make themselves vulnerable and make themselves part of the joke.
There's the difference between punching up and punching down.
Exactly.
And then usually when
you can also punch sideways.
Well, yeah, but you can punch it yourself. Like, that's the thing. Like, with some people, like, I like jokes about making fun of, like, when the Bill Cosby thing happened, and that really, like, affected me, but I liked the jokes making fun of Bill Cosby. Like, that thing of, like, oh, Bill Cosby all these years told us to pull up our pants. Meanwhile, you know, there's actually
his pants were all the way down.
But yeah, I'm not a great. I'm not as good as a comedian. Like, but it has to do with the intention. But if I've seen the jokes of like, oh, what? Well, so they waited this long, a bunch of lying bitches trying to make. Then it's like, no, that doesn't work.
Well, there's a great.
Well, neither does Nash's quad.
There's a great song from one comedian that I like, Bo Burnham, and it's called "Art Is Dead." And
Steve,
he has
did that joke just slip by you? Sorry,
I love Bo.
Wait, hold on, but Calvin, go on.
Well, he has this line in the song, and the whole song is basically about how he feels very conflicted because he loves being a comedian and being an artist, but how he also thinks that, you know, there's a certain level of narcissism to being an artist. And there's a line in the song where he says, I am an artist, please don't revere me. I'm an artist, feel free to correct me. And I'm like, yes, that's like so, it's like there are so few people who will like, as
admit.
I think, who will say things like that.
Well, you can always tell because a lot of the people we're talking about, the YouTube people, they break such a sweat trying to convince their audience that they're smarter than they are.
Yeah.
Or that they're smarter than someone else. You know, they'll make a response video to someone else, and they'll
Oh,
work
TJ
themselves
is
up.
much smarter than Steve because he is an skeptic.
Yeah, exactly. And
I mean, that joke doesn't work, but to be fair, neither does Kevin Nash's quad or his other quad.
you say it again, so make sure I hear it this time. So yeah, I mean, real talented comedians, and not just comedians, like artists in general. Whether it's you're a sculptor or a painter or a filmmaker or a writer or whatever, you're not trying to put yourself above your audience. You're opening yourself up to your audience. You're telling people
like, hey, I'm human just like you.
Yeah, and you're trying to offer some insight or some commentary, and it's not about how smart you are or how great you are. And if it is, then in my opinion,
it's gonna fall flat like Kevin Nash's quad.
Yeah, in the opinion of a lot. Are you going to work Kevin Nash's quad into every response? All right, the guy has bad legs. I get it. But yeah, if you're gonna, that, in my opinion, you're doing it wrong. Like, if all you want to do is just put yourself over and convince and just boast and convince everybody how great you are, like, to me, that's not good art. That's not good comedy.
There's a reason Steven Crowder isn't known as a comedian, despite the fact that that's his official profession.
There's a reason why none of them are known as comedians, and there's a reason why the few people with that attitude who have made it big as comedians, like Andrew Dice Clay, burned out within a year or two.
Very quickly. No,
because
there was no related, like, one of the things that, I'm a musician, and like pretty much the goal every time is to relate.
Yeah.
Like there's a difference between being authoritative over and trying to relate with other people.
And not only that, but they have like no range. They have no range.
Yeah.
Exactly. And one of the things I remember I was having on a comment, somebody who disagreed with me, but they were kind of trying to assume that I thought that I was 100% right all the time. And I basically wrote, it's like, oh, well, I know that I'm not, because I haven't read every book in the world. I haven't read, this or that. You have to know that you are not as good as you think you are in order to improve. Yeah. There's no way you can improve without that. And I think that has been lost. That's been lost in politics. That has been lost in, the discourse with some people on YouTube. And this is part of the reason the election's the way it is.
I wonder how many conservatives have read Chomsky. I mean, there aren't a lot of liberals who have read Chomsky. Well, never mind conservatives.
No.
The one I always wondered about was Alinsky, because he was the boogeyman in 2008. Like, there were so many conservative commentators when Obama was running the first time, where they're like, he rules for radicals, Saul Alinsky, that's his Bible. And it's like, you didn't even read it. You don't even know what it says.
Exactly.
You probably wouldn't agree with it, but you don't even know what it says.
Well, and that's what they talked about. Evangelical Christians are like, people who believed in the Bible literally. They used to argue against that because sometimes they didn't read the Bible. I remember. Oh, video after video after video after video. Look, this stupid person. Look, they didn't even read the Bible. Here are Bible quotes. They're so stupid. Now they're doing the same thing.
They make a virtue of their ignorance. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like, do you even know what Chomsky says in his books? Have you even read?
Name me one.
No, you don't.
They don't know how to study.
Yeah,
well, it's also funny. It's also funny how many people think Chomsky is a liberal too. Because Chomsky's actually an anarcho-syndicalist.
Yes.
Yeah, he is. He's in his own level world, but well, when they bring up second wave feminism and they don't know what second wave feminism is. Yeah, and I asked, do you know who Simone de Beauvoir is? And she was an atheist, by the way, when it was really unpopular, and also one of the hugest founders. She's actually on freedomfromreligion.org, one of her quotes. And I remember just getting yelled at by all these atheists. I brought up, Simone de Beauvoir, she was one of those people that helped promote secularism and atheism, and also a huge influence in second wave feminism that you claim was so much better. But if you actually read Simone de Beauvoir, she has some antiquated ideas. She has that white feminism problem. She has this or that. But why do I know that and you don't? You want to make a criticism on feminism, make a real one.
It's kind of like when it came to War Corpse, I'm like, okay, so War Corpse, have you ever actually read any feminist literature? He's like, he basically, I had to corner him on that one, and then he was like, well, no, I haven't. And then I'm like, okay, then.
It's even worse than that. I mean, people who criticized Anita Sarkeesian and haven't watched one of her videos. And it's like, it's right there. You don't even have to go anywhere.
And people who like
cherry picked her so much too.
Like, I remember I saw.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bliss.
I was gonna say, I remember a while ago I saw Amy Repsion criticizing Anita and talking about how he believed that she didn't play the game for some reason. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I will go watch her video and see what he's talking about. And I went to go watch it, and I was like, I don't see any evidence for the fact that she didn't play the game. It just seems like she saw it in a totally different way than he did. And it's like, basically, she disagrees with me, so she must not have played the game. And I was like, I looked really closely at it to see if like it was possible that he was right. And because, you know, sometimes every once in a blue moon, the anti-feminist might have like one good point about something. So I was like, I'll check it out. And I just couldn't see it.
Well, when it comes to Thunder Christ, do you know what he did when he tried to cherry pick Anita Sarkeesian? He actually cherry picked her in such a way that he made it look like she cherry picked. So this had to do with the game Overwatch, which had 3 strong female characters added later. And she's talking about at the initial release of Overwatch at the 2014 E3, talking about the characters there, talking about how the male characters are very diverse, but the female characters aren't. And then they're like, oh, did she just gloss up? Did she not go over them? And then it's kind of like, I'm like, well, I watched that video. Actually, she did say, and they later added these characters, and these were good characters. So it's like,
what got me was she's so boring. I mean, it's mild sauce. It's just like,
that's what I think.
It was like I saw her videos, and I was like, okay, well, maybe it's okay, but whatever. And I don't play games, so this is even more removed. So I just got to watch it. I'm like, you guys you've lost it.
You
lost it.
For a video
exactly my reaction.
Yeah, for a video that's supposed to be about something that I find very fun, it is rather boring. But I do actually sit there and like watch Anita Sarkeesian almost every time a video comes out on Feminist Frequency.
Yeah, I actually like Anita, but I think that like people who it shows their ignorance. And it shows how little exposure to wider culture that they have, that they would think that that was something to get pissed off about. Because even if you watch an Anita Sarkeesian video, and even if you disagree with what she's saying, which is completely legitimate, you can maybe you just see things differently.
I have met feminists who disagree with Anita Sarkeesian. There's no problem there.
So have I. And that's great. But I have never, like, her feminism isn't that extreme. Her game, the school of thought that she applies to gaming critique is not that extreme. It's no different than what people have been doing with movies for 100 years. And it's like, you guys really just need to grow the fuck up. If you want video games to be taken seriously as an art form, you can't like lose your shit every time a girl says something about a video game you don't like.
Well, again, oh God, this is a point I want to ask you guys. Have you guys seen the new season of South Park?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I think I've seen all of it so far.
Okay, because I've been hearing just like bubbling of like, man, South Park is nasty, South Park is this, South Park is that, because like they are actually criticizing very well not only this election, but also the culture that has kind of festered of, you know, being overly nostalgic for stuff that probably wasn't even that like great. Now, granted, Ghostbusters is great, but so was the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with the Jim Henson puppetry. Right. But I hated the remake, but people went and saw it, just like, you know, and the Ghostbusters recently, I saw it. It's kind of meh. This is meh. It's another remake of a meh for a meh. But it is not.
You know that basically Sargon even came out and said that it's, with the Ghostbusters film, it's not an example of feminism ruining a movie. It's the example of a remake being terrible.
Or not even terrible, just kind of meh. That's the thing. I can understand if you get mad at something if it's really bad, or you get excited about something if it's really good. But when it's just meh, I keep saying meh, but just mashed potato sandwiches that they're getting angry over. Yeah, my grandma used to call that boring people mashed potato sandwiches.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not like the rerun of Thundercats. I thought that it was terrible when they redid it.
They did it. Oh my god.
The animation was so pretty, though.
The animation was much.
The cat people were pretty.
The animation was better, I'll admit. But when it comes to the actual, when it comes to the all the charm the Thundercats had in the '80s, which is before my time, I do know that, Steve.
You mean
but my father used to make me watch that. My father made me watch it when I was a little boy myself. So yeah.
So okay, so listen, let's I'm gonna need to wrap this up in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I actually need to pop off. Yeah, I gotta practice today.
Do you want to just wrap it up now? We can give our quick sort of final thoughts on what we think is going to happen tomorrow, and then we'll bid each other a good day.
Yep.
Who wants to go first?
Well, I gotta go to the bathroom, so that's a priority. But basically tomorrow. Whatever. Basically tomorrow.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be.
I know. I think that it's probably going to be close in the beginning. I do believe that Hillary will win. And also there might be a little bit of grumbling on November 9th. I'm worried about there being a reaction from, the
reactionaries.
Yeah, the reactionaries. But I'm worried about, but I think it might be that we have a Republican House and a Republican Senate. We might have more of a chance to get a Democratic Senate, but that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. So next.
Bliss, would you like to go?
Sure. Yes. A lot of what Natalie just said, I do think that Hillary is most likely going to win, not necessarily by a lot, but I guess, enough. And besides that, I'm just going to go about my typical routine of working out so I can at some point kick Steve's ass. So.
Come on. Okay, Mr. Anarchist.
All right. So when it comes to the election, I have to agree with Natalie. I do think it's very unlikely. I do think that it's actually going to be a close one, actually, regardless of who wins. But I do think it's looking to be a Hillary victory due to the sexual assault scandal. And yep, it looks like we're going to have a Republican House. Of course, Massachusetts has nothing to do with that because Massachusetts always votes blue, at least when it comes to the House and Senate. But when it comes to their governor, they vote red. So we're going to have a red governor for a long time. Fucking Charlie Baker. But
I'm going to say, go ahead, finish your.
And when it comes to the Senate, I think maybe we'll get more than 1/3 of the Senate, but I don't think we'll get a half or majority in the Senate.
Oh.
Okay. I will say Hillary wins somewhere. I would say it'll probably be closer than we think it'll be. Maybe around 280, 290 electoral votes for Hillary. I would love to see her get over 300, but I'm not going to go that far. And I think the Democrats will pick up seats in the Senate, but I'm holding out. I'm not going so far as to say we'll take control of the Senate. Although again, that would be great too. But yeah. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining me. Thanks everybody out there for watching. I hope you found this entertaining. If you're an American and you're registered to vote, and you can possibly do it, go vote.
And if you're in Massachusetts, vote yes on question 4.
There you go.
That legalizes marijuana.
Yeah, you have your marching orders. Elect Democrats and legalize pot. Bye everybody.
Smoke weed early.
Bye.